Just give me 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So, Adhav, tell me. Let's start with your assessment of your performance. How do you think it went?
It was very average.
Okay. Okay. And why do you say that?
I didn't get the flow I was looking to get. I stuttered in a few places, and
Okay.
most importantly, I couldn't, verbalize the difference between sales and marketing. Even though that is something
Okay.
I knew, that was a very
Oh.
important
Okay.
question, and I was not able to come with the answer. Maybe because I was a little nervous. I don't know.
Right.
And I thought, that was a very bad look.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Don't be so harsh on yourself. There were some parts of the interview that went really well. Okay. Of course. Yeah. Sales and marketing. And I'm specifically saying this to you, and we'll talk more about it. But since you're very clear that sales is the way you want to go, you can expect these kind of questions to come your way, because you're not one of those candidates who's saying, "Hey, listen, I'm looking forward to getting a general overview of what management is all about, and then take a decision later on." You're saying that I'm heavily inclining towards sales right now. Okay. So then definitely expect questions around, what is the difference between sales and marketing, or questions about sales, even something to the effect of what I asked you, right? That, hey, listen, it's all about fapping, it's all about schmoozing, it's all about whining and dining. Is that what excites you to sales and stuff like that? So anyway, we'll talk more about it. We'll go in a proper structure. But yeah, don't be. I don't think it was average. I think it was a good interview. There were some aspects that you handled really well. You clearly have some very core strengths that will work to your benefit in the interview. But of course, there are portions where you'll have to, that needs some work. Okay, let's start with tell me something about yourself. I like this answer, right? The way you, the contents of this answer were good. For instance, you spoke about uh, your accounts, you spoke about your work experience, you spoke about your interests. Um, you also gave a bit of a flavor about your family. You have academic influence from your parents. You spoke about what your parents did. Excuse me. And at the end, you also mentioned the story, right? As to why you got into automobile engineering, right? These kind of things always add a flavor, because the thing is, the panel, when they're asking you this question, they want to know you as a person, right? So, of course, you should talk about the core things, but you should also include elements about your life and just make it more interesting. So, I think as far as making things interesting is concerned, you don't have a problem with that, right? It was interesting. It was engaging to talk to you. At no point in time I felt, oh, I'm getting bored or I'm losing interest. That didn't happen, right? So that's a great thing. That's definitely use that to your advantage. About tell me something about yourself. A few things that I wanted to talk to you about, and I'm just getting your thoughts on this.
Mhm.
See, you mentioned that you took up biology
Yes.
in 12th. When you say you took up biology, that means it must have been physics, chemistry, maths, and biology, right?
Yeah, PCMB.
PCMB, because that's how you got into engineering. And then you shifted to automobile engineering. So the natural question was, why did you, I framed it like you seem confused to me, right?
Yes.
By the way, I was deliberately saying these things to you,
I-
right? I'll tell you why. Because the moment I notice a candidate who has confidence, and you definitely come across as someone who has confidence, nervousness doesn't show on you at all. So when I notice confidence, that's the time when I start adopting this sort of style, where I'm like, just throwing these hard balls at you to see how you handle it, right? If a candidate is nervous, I would never do that. And it goes against my standard style of interviewing, so it takes a lot of effort for me to do it as well. Okay. So yeah, that was all deliberate when I said, confused and all of that. But it can happen in a real interview as well, right? So be prepared for that. So yeah, so you said that, I said you seem confused. So you said, oh, I just took up biology because it was a matter of convenience for me, right? So my point is, do you want to mention biology at all? Because you did
Uh,
science in the 12th grade, then you went into engineering, right? Does the panel need to know that you took up biology?
so I just thought I had just given some additional information because I really wanted to mention Red Cross. I don't know if you got that. I told
Yes, I did get that. Yeah.
I went with my father. So I wanted to establish that I've always had my fingers in a lot of pies. I was into tennis, I was in basketball, I had social service, I was in the NCC as well. That never came up because I didn't have the opportunity to insert in because, that'd be very awkward to bring it out of nowhere. So in context, so I just wanted to, give you the impression that I was outgoing and there was a reason behind me going for this wasn't random. So that was the
Okay.
thought process for me.
Okay. All right. So Red Cross is your father's involved in Red Cross,
Yeah.
right? And explain to me the connection with biology. Like I'm just trying to understand that so that we can decide whether you should include that or not.
Essentially, what happens is I've tagged along with him for a lot of drives because he's an ENT surgeon. I've gone along with him, and basically, when he's treating a lot of people, he just throws a lot of information out at me. So for me, since I had this exposure right from childhood, it was this particular subject was extremely easy for me because, when you've been hearing that particular subject, about ears, about general fever, about, how the human body works and all those things, but it naturally seeps into you, right? So
Yes.
the effort
Yes.
required to get a very good score in that particular
Fair
subject
enough.
will be less.
I get it. I get it. So tell me something. Is that I was one thing that I noticed and I wanted to bring this up was that you were moving quite not quite a bit, but some sort of like there was movement during the interview.
Yeah, and basically when I'm talking, I tend to be a very animated.
Okay.
I
Okay.
use my hands, head,
Okay.
whatever I'm talking.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. So what I would say is that it's not a major thing. It's not a major thing. But I'm just saying when somebody is talking to you, especially on video call, right? Because you're just sort of seeing your this part, right? It can distract the panelist a little bit. Okay. So see, if it's connected to HD and you can't control it, then forget about it. But if it's something that you can watch yourself on video and be a little conscious about it, I think it'll help. Okay, but don't now, because I know this is a natural style, right? So don't stress too much about it. I would say when you watch the recording, see if you can be a little conscious before the interview, and if it won't hamper your performance, do it. Otherwise, forget about it.
Sure, sir.
Okay, because if it's too ingrained in you, then pushing yourself will just appear. It'll make it counterproductive.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. So those are minor things. Let's forget about that. Let's talk about. Okay. So tell me about yourself. Was fine. Um, Again, coming back to biology, think about this. If you want to mention biology because of your the influence that you had from your father and all of that, just don't say that you took up biology as a matter of convenience.
Okay.
Say that at that point in time you were interested in biology because of this reason, because you were exposed to it from a very early age. When you visited Red Cross and you heard a lot of discussions from my father, so that developed a natural interest in biology, and that's the reason you took it up.
Okay.
Okay. Don't mention that this was a matter of convenience for you, because again that can sort of throw a flag saying, oh, he took up an easy subject.
Okay.
Will he be able to handle the academic rigor and stuff like that? So don't say that. Okay. So if this question comes up saying, why did you jump and all of that, just say that I was interested in biology at that time, so I wanted to take it up.
Sure.
Okay. And that will come up when you tell me something about yourself as well, that you took up biology because you were interested. Mention that.
Right.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now tell me something about yourself is fine. Have you written this down, the points that you want to mention, and tell me something about yourself, or was it impromptu?
I did not write it per se in a paragraph form. I've just made a note of the points I wanted to get across.
Which is the best thing to do?
One more thing is that I have written online gaming. Basically, I'm interested in strategy games like Dota and
Right.
Siege. But I was not sure if I, wanted to mention that because that might give a wrong impression to the panel.
Yeah.
I was very
So
50-50 on that.
fair enough. So I'll tell you this. First of all, tell me something about yourself. You should the bullet points that you mentioned are perfect, right? You should always do that and not mention sentences because it appears rehearsed. You need to have a 30 to 45-second answer ready for this. Okay, where you should prioritize and say, okay, I will cover these points in this because I want to make sure that I highlight these points. Because invariably they will end up interrupting you. They do that a lot. Panels do that a lot because they're short of time, right? So they do interrupt you. So what we want to make sure is that in the first 45 seconds, you've highlighted the most important points.
Right.
Okay, so do that. Prioritize those points and have a flow. So you start with where you're from. Where you grew up in, maybe talk a little bit about your parents, go to your 10th grade, 12th grade biology because you were interested, then go to automobile engineering, then go to work. And then maybe you can end with hobbies.
Yeah.
right? Now, as far as whether you should mention online gaming, I think sports is better to mention than online gaming.
Sure.
Okay, so don't mention online gaming because you're giving enough about your hobbies, English literature, sports. I think you should definitely mention English lit because for an engineer to say that you're interested in English literature just sort of gives diversity.
So that's one more point I wanted to say because I was also drama club president and debate club president in addition to being a student journalist. I didn't mention
Right.
any of this. I just said that in passing. The first two things are also mentioned in my 10th grade sheet. So, so is that something I should give extra importance to?
I would say you have quite a bit non-acad and non-work flavor in your tell me something about yourself already. Okay. I wouldn't put too much stuff there. I would prioritize, right?
Sure.
So I like that point of interest in English literature, right? I like the fact that you said that, you are a so you hinted at that, right? That you're into public speaking, like debates and extempore and stuff like that. So you can say public speaking. That's something that an MBA candidate, if that they have that quality, is always good. And you can mention sports, and I think you also said professional tennis. So that's also something concrete that you can mention. Okay, so I would say this is enough because you won't have that much time to cram everything in.
Sure.
Point was definitely prioritize. Okay, and biology, don't say matter of convenience. Say that you were interested in that time. Okay, all right. Yeah. So you also mentioned that you were a grade 12 topper in English. Okay, because you're mentioning English literature, right? You can always say that you have an interest in English literature, and academically also you've done really well in English.
Okay.
And you were the grade topper in 12th. The reason why concrete achievements always stick with the panel. So topper in English, I got this award, I got that award. These kind of things stick. So mention that. Okay. All right. Then came the question, why did you quit your job? And then why MBA? Okay. See, this question will come up, most likely. Because as you know, right, when panel sees that, hey, this person quit the job to do their CAT preparation full time, they're like, but then, why couldn't they multitask? Why couldn't they handle both of them at the same time? If they can't handle that, will they be able to handle MBA rigor? Stuff like that. You already know about this, right? So you'll have to package it really well. There's so much we can say at this point in time, right? But I think you can always, if you say that, hey, I got furloughed because of the pandemic, right? And then there was no sort of definite timeline as to when they'll want me back, right? So then at that time, I took the very tough decision of resigning. And I wanted to make use of this opportunity to invest all my focus in CAT and do well in CAT. Right? Will that be okay? Because the furlough, when we discussed the furlough bit came later on.
Yeah.
First, you said that you quit. So it seemed like you voluntarily quit, right? But then when I probed you, you said, no, I got furloughed. So what do you think about mentioning this in the beginning itself, that I got furloughed because of the pandemic?
That sounds good. So the actual reason was, like I said, was because of this thing. It was not even furloughed.
Okay.
They were still maintaining a skeletal staff. They still wanted me to be on board.
Okay.
But I had discussed with my manager about doing an MBA this year. They expected me to, probably go around towards the end of the year. So, a pandemic hit and the working hours went really odd. Like you'd be expected to take calls at all around the time. And if I'm, doing a CAT course and I have to take a call, that particular thing is gone for that day.
Right.
That keeps happening. That's something that I cannot transition properly. So, they were following employees. That much is true, but I packaged it a different way. What I told you was not entirely true.
Okay, so you didn't get followed, right? That's the truth. Okay, interesting. Okay, so first of all, I know that probably happened because you got into a little bit of a pressure, and then you ended up saying you got followed. Don't let pressure get to you in the interview. I was deliberately being a little sort of like hard on you because I could sense confidence. I was like, okay, let me see if this, how long can he carry through. So the thing is, we have to try and be as honest as possible in the interview. I'm not saying you were being dishonest. It was out of pressure. but just be as honest as possible, right? Don't tweak things. Now, if you weren't followed, that means you took this decision to do your MBA. Okay. We can't even say, hey, the work hours got random or the work hours got long because you're expected to manage that. Um, hmm. It's okay. I think be honest, Adhav. Just say that I had spent sort of 17, 18 months there. It was a great learning experience. I was learning a lot, and it was a great experience at the company. Um, but I was pretty sure that I want to do an MBA program, and then I want to eventually sort of get into a sales role. So since I was very clear about my path, CAT was something which was very important for me. So I decided to completely invest my focus in CAT.
Okay.
Right?
So
Yeah.
apart from this, I was very clear with my management and my family that I wanted to do an MBA. Like
Right.
right from 2019. So I had told them that this is what I wanted to do. I'm very interested in rising to this particular position. They were
Right.
understanding. We had this understanding at work that this person will be going away sometime next year, and my mother will be retiring in a year from now. So the monetary aspect also comes in. So essentially,
Hmm.
father is retired, the doctor is retired, mother will be retiring next year. So I
Right.
have to transition to a next role, have to start earning more money. So
Right.
that also played a really important role. But if you put it like that, it sounded very uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah. And the thing is, see, if monetary, if you put it, yeah, you shouldn't bring in the monetary angle. And if you want to put in the monetary angle, then they'll be like, oh, but you should have worked then in that situation. You should have kept earning. You should have kept saving. It can go in different directions, right? So let's just be honest and let's package it really well. Say that you were very clear right from you've been very clear since a couple of years that you wanted to do your MBA, right? And don't say that you want to do a sales role at the end, but you say you're heavily inclining towards sales, right? And you're decided, you set your mind on doing an MBA. So in April, when you sort of realize that how CAT and other competitive exams are going to be important for you, you decided to quit your job and take up CAT preparation full time because you wanted to do really well in that.
so I have another point of information because I
Yes.
wrote CAD in 2018 and 19 as well. I got with
Hmm.
minimum preparation. So I got
Hmm.
89 in 2018 and in 2019 I got 91.3. So with minimum preparation, I'm saying no preparation. I just got
Hmm.
this percentile because my English scores were very high. So
Right. Right.
is that a possible angle I can work on? I can tell them that this time I didn't want to have any regrets, so I thought I'll just put my foot down and prepare for a long period of time and get the results that I always wanted.
See, that's also tricky because if you're saying that you've sort of given CAT twice and you're giving CAT the third time, then the question is, do you really need it to sort of invest full-time preparation? Because you've experienced CAT a number of times, right? I wouldn't mention it, right? Don't complicate this. Don't complicate this. Keep it simple. Say that you wanted to do an MBA. You're heavily inclining towards sales, so that's why you realize how these competitive exams are important for you. And come April, you quit your job in April, right?
April 25, yeah.
Yeah. So come April, May, you realize that you have a limited amount of time left, and you wanted to invest your energies in CAT preparation, and so that you can get a good score and get into a good B school. Just keep it simple.
Okay.
Okay. Bring in that angle that you wanted to do an MBA. You were very clear about it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Then they say that, hey, why should we select you if there are candidates for better work experience? I like the way you answered this, right? And I'll tell you what I like. In the end, you said that, sir, but if given a chance, I'll put in my best, and I'm very confident that with the skills that I bring to the table, I'll be able to do an amazing job at MBA. I like the pitch at the end. That was a sales pitch, right? So it was good. It was good. See, again, these questions, you can't get around it. Good that you acknowledge that, yes, I do acknowledge that there are candidates who have better work experience than me. I do acknowledge that it's going to be difficult at this point in time to compete with them for a seat. But what I can assure you from my end is that I'll work very hard, and with the unique skills that I bring to the table, I'm pretty sure that I'll be able to do a really good job with this MBA program. And when they talk about unique skills, you can talk about your skills, right? You can say that, hey, listen, I public speaking is one of my strongest points. I'm interested in English literature in spite of being an engineer, which I think is a unique point. I have excelled in sports, right? So you can mention those hobbies.
So for public speaking, so I have a question. Did you feel that I stuttered a bit too much when talking to you?
In the sense that, no, no,
Stuttered,
no, no,
stuttered or
no,
stumbled through my words?
no, no, not at all. I didn't get that. In fact, I was going to tell you that one of your strong points is communication skills, right? So use that to your benefit. See, you come across as a very confident, assertive personality, right? I can make out from by talking to you that I can see that, okay, fine, this guy can fit in the sales world, right? So I don't think that's an issue at all. Okay, so just use that to your benefit. Okay, so this was good. Let's talk about work experience. You explained your profile to me, so that was fine. You spoke about the consulting bit. I think the challenge was good. Your challenge seemed concrete. You said that you work with these non-fiction authors who are kind of like who are difficult people to talk to because they have so much questions, they have so many questions, they're so well informed and they're so demanding, right? So I think you handled that in the early stages of your career. That's great. Um, the only thing that I mentioned is don't bring any point where it will seem like that you're speaking ill about your company.
Okay.
Okay, I don't think you deliberately did that, but you use the word saying that my problem with the company was that there was no clear hierarchy. Don't say problem with the company,
Yeah, sure.
right? Although you may not mean that, it will seem like, oh, this person in his first job itself, he's speaking ill about the company.
Bad optics.
So yeah, so never speak ill about the company, never speak ill about your colleagues or superiors, no matter how crap they've been to you. Right? The reality is superiors, colleagues, and companies can be crappy, but we don't need to mention that.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't mention that. Don't bring in the hierarchy point, Adhav, because what will happen is then it will be like, oh, this person's interested in tags, the way I sort of threw at you, right? Then they'll say, oh, modern organizations they have a flat hierarchy. How are you going to cope with that? Stuff like that. So don't bring in hierarchy. Don't bring this thing about, hey, this was the problem with my company. Right? Say that it was a great learning experience. All of that was good. You had a good time, but you left because you wanted to prepare for CAT. Simple. Keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Okay. Otherwise, the challenge and everything was great. You mentioned edge cases, non-fiction, and all of that. And I think also when I asked you your achievements, promotions, you handled it well. You saying that the typical time is 24 months to get a promotion. In terms of achievements, I think the additional responsibilities that I got because of my performance and also because of my enthusiasm, they were really good learning experiences, right? And then you can talk about them. I think that's where the whole FUQ process, training onboarding new employees and all of that, they were given to you because you were performing well. Yeah. Right? So you can mention that. Okay. All right. Great. ACADS, yeah. ACADS, yeah. I don't think you should say average to good. You can say that I've had a good track record. It's been pretty consistent. And then in the end, you said that top 20 out of 240. When I said, "Are you okay? Are you happy with that?" You said, "Yeah, I'm happy with it because I sort of did a number of things apart from my academics as well, like handling for internships and all of that." So yes, if you ask me, could I have done better? Definitely. But given everything, the entire sort of suite of things that I did in engineering, I think I'm satisfied with my performance.
So the additional information I gave for that particular answer was I got calls from Hyundai, Renault Nissan, and Ashok Leyland. So that tells me that I did something right in my UG, and I was very satisfied.
That was fine.
So that's fine.
That's fine. That's fine. That's totally okay. Just instead of saying that you were very satisfied with the performance, say that you were satisfied.
Okay.
Right. Top 20 is good. Top 20 is good, right? As you say satisfied, I could have done better. Top 10 or top 5 would have been even better. But given the fact that I was doing a lot of other things as well in engineering, internships, and all of that, I'm happy. And at the end, I got calls from 4 major companies. So, I'm satisfied with that. Right. Okay. Okay. You also mentioned that when I said that, why didn't you apply for automobile jobs during the pandemic? You said that, the jobs that were offered to me were like quality control analysts and I had no interest at all. Don't bring that up. Don't say that you had no interest at all. Because see, at your early stages of a career, a lot of people would say, hey, just grab whatever you get and get some experience. Right? Why become so choosy in the beginning? right? So don't say that. Say that, I did try for automotive jobs after that, but it was difficult to get sort of positions, good positions. I was looking for core engineering positions, and they weren't really available at that time, right? So you can just mention that. Don't say that you want interest and stuff like that. Okay. Automotive engine and emissions. See, I'm not an engineer, but I wanted to test you on this because they will test you on it. The chances are, because you have 17 months, right? Less than 2 years. So they might go to your academics. So what I'm saying is, do revise your subject and be ready with the core concepts and stuff, right? Are you sort of reasonably prepared for that?
Yes, sir. Because I said automotive engines and emissions. I just went through the Bharat stage emission stages and what kind of engines are there, what's being used in the industry right now, and so on.
Okay, great. So fantastic. Core concepts and what's new in the industry. Prepare on that and be ready. If they ask you a question on a subject that you're not comfortable with, you can always tell them, unfortunately, sir, that wasn't my strong point. So I won't be able to answer that. But I was very interested in automotive engine and emissions. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to talk about that subject. Right? Okay. We spoke about driverless cars a little bit, right? So Alphabet's efforts have borne fruit.
Okay.
Right. They have launched in Arizona. Read up about it. Google it. I was just confirming that as well. Waymo did launch a test first, and then they opened up the testing further as well. So I think it's 100 square kilometer radius in which they operate in Arizona itself, but they have definitely started that.
Sure.
So read up. And Alphabet is doing pretty well. So the reason why I brought up this, I knew this because I used to work for Google till last year. Okay. I spent quite a bit of time there, not in Waymo or anything, but I know a little bit about Waymo. So that's why I was like, let me ask him about that, right? And Tesla is not into self-driving cars at all. Are you sure about that?
I didn't say Tesla wasn't into self-driving, so I don't think that's a point of interest for them. That's not a selling point for them. They might be doing some R&D at Tesla, but what they are currently incorporating into cars and working on developing is something different. It's kind of like cruise control, but not exactly cruise control.
Fair enough. So that's fine. But Alphabet's efforts, maybe just read up about self-driving cars. You're interested in automobiles, right?
Yeah.
And this is the newest thing in this domain. So they might ask you on that. Okay. Electric vehicles, also read up about it if you haven't read that already. Okay. Now let's talk about what I think is your biggest area of development. What's happening with current affairs? Have you read up about it? Have you read?
Yeah, I read about the farm bills and I went through the union budget, the highlights.
Okay, what Chennai state elections? Why did you read up about
Completely blank. So I was reading about the capitals of all the other cities, CMs of other cities. Forgot my whole
right. Okay, no. So I'll tell you why. You're from Chennai, right?
Yeah.
They tend to ask a lot of local politics related questions. Okay, so definitely read up about that. Okay, I think state elections are coming up in Chennai.
Yeah,
because I heard a lot of chatter about Rajnikant and all of that recently.
It is coming up. I even saw the ads, but I didn't remember the dates.
So because I read a question, somebody was recently asked about Sasikala's role because she's released from jail. And then they've asked, is there going to be anti-incumbency and then Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan and all of that? So read up about Chennai state elections. Okay, local. You need to know what is happening locally because
I am aware about what's happening in the political scene. So when you asked about the date, I was confused because.
Oh no, I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you the date. I said, are Chennai state elections coming up? Is what I asked you.
Okay.
Are they coming up?
Yeah, I think
right.
It was my bad. I could have answered. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think they're coming up this year.
Yeah, they are coming
right?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. So then when you said I don't know about it, then I didn't press further.
Sorry.
Right? Okay. No problem. So see, one thing I'll tell you, there will be questions where you have very little idea about, right? Or where you have no idea. If you have no idea, then that's it. You will say, hey, I'm sorry, but I don't know. If you have a little bit of an idea, don't hesitate to say what you know. You can say, sir, I'm sorry, I don't know the details. I know a little bit about it, and here's what I know. So preface it, any question where you know a little bit of information, instead of saying, I don't know, say preface it by saying, I know a little bit, set that expectation and say, this is what you know.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so it's always better than saying, I don't know. Right? Okay. So current affairs, yeah, you'll have to ramp up on that. Chennai local flavors, budget highlights go a little deeper.
Yeah.
Although finance is not your domain, that you're not interested, but still, budget just happened. Little bit, read a little bit about it. Farm bills, definitely, farm laws, definitely read up about that. So current affairs, you'll have to ramp up because I'm increasingly seeing a lot of current affairs questions being asked to candidates. So, you don't want to falter on that. Okay. Why MBA? I think your answer is decent. You enjoy sales. But then coming back to marketing is going to be a specialization because sales is a part of marketing, right? What's the difference between marketing and sales? Definitely read up about it. I think you already know, but don't get nervous. All right, they'll deliberately try to do that, and read up about marketing if you haven't read already.
Yeah.
Okay, like core concepts, just basic concepts. You're not expected to be an expert. That MBA will make you that expert. And also, you can go to an institute's website, see what all is included in marketing, like market research, subjects, topics, sales, advertising, all of that, and get a bit of flavor of what marketing is.
So with marketing, can I push the conversation towards what we did at Notion Press? Because that's something I'll be able to explain. Because when it comes to marketing for Notion Press was different from marketing that we provided for the authors. There's two kinds of marketing. Are you talking about that?
Yes.
I got
Yes.
a digital marketing certificate during the pandemic when I was preparing for CAT. Got a certificate from Google Garage. So that's something that's a crash course I did. So I can mention that. Is that a good idea?
See, generally certificates don't hold a lot of weight, Adhav, in front of a panel, right? Because a lot of people get certificates. So it's not something which is very unique. So it's something that you can skip. Usually that's not, unless it's a very sort of like intensive certificate where you have to clear an exam and all of that, right? What I would say is read up a little bit about marketing. Core concepts like 4 P's of marketing. What is marketing? What's the difference between marketing and sales? What all components of marketing and all of that you can get from the subjects as well, and get a bit of flavor. That's it. So if there are questions, because you're saying that you're heavily inclined towards marketing, so that questions can come up. Okay, and don't say that when they say what plans after MBA, don't say that you want to be a sales manager. Say that you're heavily inclining towards it.
Sure.
But at the same time, you want to definitely keep your mind open because you realize that MBA is so huge and you're going to learn so much about different components. So your decision might change, but at this point in time, you're heavily inclining towards it.
Got it. Give information without shooting yourself in the foot.
Yes, exactly. It's all about packaging. And you know that. You've been in sales, you know that it's all about packaging. We always say the truth, but we package it really well. Right? So fine. I completely get when you said that there was no growth in my company, right? It's true. What you're saying is true. I'm not denying that, but don't say it.
Yeah, sure.
Right? Package it well. And decide whether you want to say heavily inclining towards sales or inclining towards sales.
Sure.
Right? It's fine to say inclining towards sales based on your experience, right? You're in your early stages. It's okay to say that. So, and you're keeping an open mind that you're going to explore different areas, which you're very excited about learning. But at this point in time, you've done sales, you've enjoyed it, so inclining towards it. And your plans after an MBA at this point in time is to get into sales. Okay, so say inclining. Actually, I'm changing my stance. Say inclining, don't say heavily inclining.
Sure.
Because unless you'll open the door for questioning.
Yeah.
Okay, what plans after MBA? All of that is fine. Why should we not select you? Now, this is a very tricky question. Okay, it's a weird question to answer, right? Anybody would get flustered. This is what I would suggest. I'm not saying this question will come up, but see, you can always put a smile on your face and say, "Sir, that's a really tricky question." I guess I'd love to be selected, in your college because I know it's a prestigious college. I'd love to be selected, but I do acknowledge the fact that there will be students with better CAT scores or with better work experience than me that probably will have an edge over me.
Okay.
So say that, right? Start with that, but then they will take you to weaknesses, right? They will say, no, but tell me about your weaknesses. That's when you can say listening skills is a concrete weakness to say. Don't say you're lazy at times. Say that a few times, like a couple of times in my life, I think I've gotten a bit complacent, right? Where, for instance, you can say, I was in top 20 engineering, I could have been in top 10, but I guess, got a bit complacent in some of the semesters because I was doing well, and that sort of landed me in top 20. Otherwise, I could have been in top 10. So yeah, listening skills are a bit complacent in a couple of instances in my life, and then talk about those instances, right? So weaknesses is a common question. You can mention that, but don't package positive things as negative things, right?
I genuinely thought it was a negative thing to say because because a rational person would obviously understand that, hey, I need to wait for it. Uselessly thinking about it and being impatient is not a good thing. So,
But Adhav, I'll tell you what, and again, I deliberately interrupted you. I wanted to see how you try, but panel. It's unfortunate that, and this was I did my BCom when I did my 15 years ago, right? More than 15 years ago. It was ingrained in us at that time as well. When they ask you for weakness, say things like, "Oh, I'm a perfectionist. I work too hard." I can't believe that that knowledge has still continued and students are still taught that, which is a really weird thing to say in the interview because the panel will see through it, right? I'm not saying you packaged it, but it seemed like that. It seemed like you're saying,
right,
oh,
right, right.
I'm like hunger for results, hunger for progress, but that's a positive thing,
Okay.
right? So be objective and say, hey, these are my negatives. Anytime you mention a weakness or negative, as long as you're authentic and you can explain to the panel that I know this is a weakness and I'm working towards improving it. This is what I've done. This is what I plan to do. They'll be happy with it, right? What they want to see is this person self-aware, right? And is this person doing something about overcoming that weakness? If you can tell them that, all good.
Objective analysis.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's it. So that's it from my side. The part, of course, you can ask me questions.
So I had one more doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
About posture. So I've learned that, during interviews, if you're sitting ramrod straight like this, that's what most people say you're supposed to be like in an interview. Personally,
Right.
I've read a lot of papers and research suggesting that if you show interest by leaning forward, it's a more comfortable, posture for you and it'll be more interactive and indicate, a lot of engagement, sort of engagement in the conversation. So what would you suggest?
Okay. So see, what I would suggest is, no, I also don't think personally that sitting still and stiff is the way to go, right? I think your posture is fine. If you're leaning forward, that's fine. In terms of body language, first tip that I'll tell you is be your natural self, right? Because there's so much you can tweak with that. That's why even with the movement, right? I was saying that see if you can be conscious and reduce it a little bit. If you can't, don't worry about it because I don't want that to play in your head. Oh, am I moving too much? Am I moving too much? I don't want that to happen, right? But I think in terms of the question that you're asking, I think being a little flexible with your movement and leaning forward is okay. I think you're right. It does show interest and it does show sort of enthusiasm rather than being
moderation.
Yeah, in moderation.
So, and about my final question, I was thinking that, instead of just asking something generic about the...
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
So, I just wanted to say something, ask the interviewers something about management or something about the workforce in general,
right.
in relation to current affairs. I want an opinion piece from them. Is that a good idea? Is that a good way to end the interview?
Yeah. So your question was role of the middle management in the face of pandemic. Was that the question?
Changing role in the workplace. Yeah. So a lot of people are being exposed. A lot of pieces are being written where, a lot of managers are being made redundant because their role was relevant in the actual workplace. So I asked you whether, if this particular change would roll on to something much more significant, what do you think is going to happen with management?
That's an interesting question. I've never sort of heard this from a student. Generally, students talk about the college or whatever. I think there's no harm in asking this question. It's a sensible question, right? And clearly you've put some thought in this, right? You've heard stories, and so they can always turn around and say, "What have you heard? What have you read?" It might just turn into a question for you. You've clearly read about it, right? I think it's an okay question to ask. It's fine. You can ask that. Right.
I wanted to give myself an edge because, probably they're used to give them, being given monotonous questions that are used to answering.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure I stand
No, I honestly, I like this question. I'll tell you why I like it. Because it's related to management, it's related to MBA, it's related to core course. It's not like an extracurricular question. I was a little worried when he started with saying I'm interested in creative writing. I was like, oh, is he going to ask me about some club, creative writing club in the college? I'm like, no, don't go that way. You don't want to ask about extracurriculars at this point in time. But no, I think your question is legit. It's a valid question. If you've read about it and if you're ready to sort of like have a discussion with them, go for it.
I had a few variants. So management was one. The other one was the change in etiquette and clothing, facial hair, and all those things.
I would prefer this question over the changing etiquette of all of that. Because, at the end of the day, these are professors, so they can be quite formal and prim and proper and all of that. I think this is a good question. This seems like a good question to me. So if you've read about it and you're ready to discuss, bring it up. No problem.
Sure.
Most likely they won't have the time to ask you this. But you can always get their thoughts. It's fine. Just shows your interest in management. So it's fine. Okay. All right. Anything else for me?
Nothing, sir. Very comprehensive.
Okay, great. My interviews tend to be really long. I remember that your interview is not going to be even half of what we covered. Your interview is most likely going to be 15, 20 minutes max, right? One of my students got confused. I was talking to her, spoke to her for 1 hour in an interview. She went and gave an interview in IIMT Ghaziabad, then she messaged me saying my interview is 12 minutes. I'm like, the mock interview was different. I was testing everything. But so that's fine. Great. Awesome. So keep me in the loop about how it goes. And I'll also get back to you after talking to Bharat.
Sure, sir.
Okay.
Really
all right. Great.
Because I was second guessing myself. So thank you for your time.
Oh, no worries, man. I think you're doing well. You have a lot of things working for you, so don't worry about it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. All the best. Okay. Take care.